So inflation is everywhere in the news right now. What is even is inflation? What is the rate of inflation? Should we be concerned about it? And is this going to make the entire market collapse? These are questions that I hear a lot, and there's a lot of news out there that is just fear-mongering. Why should I even care about inflation? Well, here's why. So inflation will cause your money to lose value over time. Next year, your money will buy a lot less than it could today. So for example, let's say you had $1,000 and you're going to buy gas. Not too long ago, you might remember gas was $2 per gallon. So if you had $1,000, you could buy 500 gallons of gas. Today, the average price of gas in America just went over $5 a gallon. So with the same $1,000, you can now only buy 200 gallons of gas as opposed to 500 gallons of gas. So that is a lot less. So inflation is essentially what makes your money be able to buy less over time. Inflation's actually been going up our entire lives. In fact, the long-term rate of inflation on average is 3.2% per year. So it is normal for inflation to happen. It's just that where we're at right now, inflation is abnormally high. So you don't hear about this much in the news, but our wage growth in America has actually been an average of 6.2% per year over the last several decades, which means normally the average American worker is increasing their pay at about twice the rate of inflation every year. With inflation hitting new highs of 8.6%, a 6.2% wage increase is not going to cut it, and that's what has people so concerned. Some other things to think about in terms of assets, places where people normally park their money to hedge against future inflation. We normally see an average stock market return of about 10.5% per year. That's over the last 100 years. And we see an average appreciation on our home values of almost 4% per year across the country. These are places where people normally put their money so that as inflation goes up, so does the value of their money because they're actually earning more on their assets and their portfolios over time. But obviously with inflation hitting 8.6% and looking to possibly push higher, even these vehicles that people put their money in to hedge against inflation could end up not outpacing the growth of inflation. So even if you're going to get regular increases to your salary, you're going to be able to earn more money every year. If inflation runs hot for too long, you could end up losing a lot of your purchasing power even as your income increases. So what is inflation anyway? Well, the exact definition of inflation is a decrease in the value of your money due to an increase in the price of goods and services in the economy. So let's break this down. A decrease in the purchasing power of your money. This means that, like we talked about in the beginning, as you have the same amount of money over time, you're going to be able to buy less with it. An increase in the price of goods and services. So it is normal for prices of things to go up. It's going to cost more money to purchase food over time. It's going to cost more money to hire a contractor over time. Different goods and services are going to cost more over time. So what is the inflation rate? Well, it was just released on Friday that the inflation rate for the month of May 2022 was 8.6 from May of 2021. That means within the last year, we've seen an increase by 8.6% on average, according to the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. So the CPI measures a standard household spending in what they call a basket of goods. And they look at what is the average American household spending today compared to a year ago. So there's actually 8 categories: housing, apparel, transportation, education, food and beverage, medical, recreation, and then a miscellaneous category. So the CPI for May, like I said, is 8.6%, and that's the highest level in over 40 years since 1981, and it sets a new record for this post-pandemic inflation rate that we've been seeing. So what can you do about all this? The inflation rate's running high. You see all kinds of panic in the news. People are selling all kinds of fear out there on different kinds of media networks. What can you do? There's really nothing that we can do as individuals for the macro economy. You see things with the Federal Reserve and the federal government. They are taking steps to try and reduce inflation. Will these work? No one really knows. Inflation could run hot for a lot longer. We could have seen the peak already with the month of May, and we're going down from here. No one really knows what's going to happen or really has that much control. Here's what we can do. Personally, just continue to work on your financial goals just like you would any other year. Continue to add more and more value in the market. This might mean if you're a salesperson, learn how you can sell a little bit better of a product or sell and close more deals. If you're an entrepreneur, how can your business do better with sales? How can you make more profit? And if you're an employee, how can you become more valuable to your employer so that they would have to pay you more, or you could be hired by another company that would be willing to pay you more? Another thing you can do to hedge against inflation is to invest in appreciating assets. This would be like real estate, my personal favorite. You could also invest in some really good general stock market index funds. That would be great for like a retirement portfolio, like a 401k or IRA. And the number one thing that an American can do to hedge against inflation is to follow the Hardy Investor for more videos.